of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us. It changes us.
Welcome to another episode of Two Bold Chaps. Today we're going to be discussing transhumanism. I'd like to tackle it from, or maybe perhaps introduce it from the World Economic Forum's point of view. World Economic Forum / Klaus Schwab. And this is really a follow-on to the previous podcast that we've put out regarding the Great Reset, the Great Narrative, and the various aspects of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which I guess is a major component of the Great Reset. So per usual, I'd like to start with just a definition of transhumanism. Transhumanism, this is from Britannica, and they define it as a social and philosophical movement devoted to promoting the research and development of robust human enhancement technologies. Such technologies would augment or increase human sensory reception, emotive ability, or cognitive capacity, as well as radically improve human health and extend human lifespans. Such modifications resulting from the addition of biological or physical technologies would be more or less permanent and integrated into the human body. Any thoughts on that definition? I think that definition is very favorable to transhumanism. Any thoughts on the definition at all?
Well, I'd go along with that. I mean, after all, if you want to promote it, you have to sell it. So there will be, no doubt, aspects of transhumanism that enhance human capabilities. It's essentially a fusion of technology and the human body. Mm-hmm. And perhaps another way to look at it that I've heard and read about before is that it's us humans taking control of our own evolutionary direction rather than leaving it purely in the hands of nature. So in this regard, we could use technology that is internal to our bodies to, like they say, cure disease, increase lifespan, and perhaps even achieve a form of physical immortality. Mm-hmm. As well as introducing all sorts of inconveniences to life, rather. So, financial transactions could be automated. Information about locales that you visit would be served up immediately, and lots of little things like that. Of course, it could also be used for surveillance. So that's the other side of it.
Surveillance and control.
That's right. After all, these gadgets and devices, and perhaps nanotech that are introduced into the body, would have been supplied to you by someone, either the government or corporations. And it's no stretch to imagine that these devices, biosensors and location sensors, might well feed back this information by design, to the suppliers of these devices. And that wouldn't be any secret. It would be known that this is happening. After all, biosensors could be fed back to a health center that can monitor your health for you and give you feedback on perhaps adjustments to your lifestyle that you need to make to keep your health in check. Financial indicators, like if your bank's just about to go overdrawn, you'd get a notification of it automatically, not via your phone, but it would just appear in your head. I don't know, either as audio or even a visual prompt. So these are all little things, these are little details, but you can imagine the scope is very, very broad for all sorts of things to be integrated into the body that can enhance it or enhance your life in lots of different ways.
Okay, that's great. I'd like to just introduce I'm going to pepper this podcast with a few videos, and one of them here is from the Fourth Industrial Revolution video from the World Economic Forum, which is available on YouTube, should you want to watch the whole thing.
Of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
So I didn't want to go through obviously the full, however many minutes it was. I really wanted to perhaps delve a little bit deeper into that bit, or maybe just comment on the you're not going to be able to differentiate between, your body being natural or artificial. and whether we had any thoughts on that at all.
Well, I suppose ultimately, in the wider view, what does it matter what's considered artificial or what's considered natural? In the end, we are all living in this universe, and we are natural creatures, and we created something. Bees created honey. Is that unnatural? That's a natural process.
No, that's a natural process, but technology is not a the process of developing technology might be natural, as in it came originally from biological beings ourselves, but integrating non-organic stuff into an organic matter, is that natural?
Yeah, that's where I'd say that distinction needs to be made. Our bodies are biological, and they undertake biological processes to keep us alive. And technology could be biological. It doesn't necessarily have to be metallic microchips or little metallic nanobots. It is possible that the future synthetic human, if you like, or composite human, part synthetic and part natural, it could the added bits could well be biological. But if they are not biological, I don't think that in itself is necessarily a bad thing if it helps human advancement. I think where it does go bad is if we get to the point where we cannot make the distinction, which is what she suggested in that little clip. Then I think we would lose something if we fail to make that distinction. It's all very well to augment ourselves with technology, but if we lose the grasp of the fact that it is technology and it isn't actually us, then I think that's a dangerous path to go down. From my point of view.
I think you're absolutely right. Again, it's going to come down to what is a human being. What is the essence of being human? And I think I'd like to touch upon that perhaps a little bit later. But just in terms of transhumanism itself, and certainly from the World Economic Forum's point of view, it's been sold to humanity as the good it can bring to humanity. And I guess the easiest way of doing so is through helping people with medical issues, helping people walk, hear, other physical impairments, even with the depression and whatnot, and it's been brought in as a benevolent technology, but with very little consideration, of the potential dangers, which I think you've already highlighted, of surveillance, of sharing information with potentially with entities that are not necessarily there, who are not necessarily benevolent in themselves.
Yes, organizations like the World Economic Forum and all the other global partnership organizations that are connected to it, they make no secret of the fact that they want to introduce a more centralized and integrated world. So I think the what you mentioned earlier on about surveillance, that's going to go hand in hand with transhumanism, and it's really no different to what we have now. It's just we have surveillance at the moment. You use the internet, you'll be surveilled. If you use a mobile communication device, you're going to be surveilled.
Yeah, but that's a very contentious area, and there's been various lawsuits, various governments and whatnot. EU, certainly US, suing these large tech companies for misuse of data. Even GDPR, for instance, the share, it's this whole discussion about privacy and whether you own your data and you have like we have in Europe, the right to be forgotten online, which is pushed regulation in this part of the world to against what it seems the tech companies want, i.e., your data. Certainly, like Facebook and Google, they've been slapped with multiple lawsuits on that side of things.
Yes, I think largely, notions of privacy that we have today are to a degree are simply a mirage. They don't really exist, and I think that the new world, the Great Reset that the World Economic Forum envisages, will do away with the notion of privacy altogether. and that it would have no place in a healthy world from their point of view. Nothing to fear, nothing to hide. So and also to a large degree, things, the way we see the world now, corporations, the government, NGOs, we see them as separate organizations, whereas it will become transparent in the not so distant future, I believe, that these are all organs of the state, not necessarily our particular governments, but supranational organizations, connected to the large central banks and intelligence agencies and these global public-private partnership organizations. So it's all really one big club, the way I see it. So this idea that you can sue this corporation or this corporation sues that corporation, I think that's largely, it's just I think probably just a way to make money, to be honest. Economic activity, drives GDP after all.
Sure. I want to really concentrate on the natural versus technological discussion, I guess, on whether integrating technology into the body is for not, let's say, non-medical reasons, for just pure augmentation reasons, a healthy thing or something that we should be concerned about.
There is, in my point of view, there is no reason to have something put into your body unless it's put in for a specific purpose. If you need to have a scope put into your body to check out, a cancer or some formation in your body that needs treatment, that's a temporary thing. That's technology intruding into your body for a specific purpose and temporary. Transhumanism is very different. These will be permanent augmentations to the body. So it's a radically different notion of how human bodies interact with technology. But we are moving into a more surveilled, a more controlled society, and so it seems to be that the thrust of policy will be to get people to accept these devices into their bodies. I don't even know their nature yet, and certainly, the whole COVID vaccination program has already accustomed people to having things put into their bodies, either via persuasion or via mandate. So we can kind of see the trend and which direction things are moving into. So is it a good thing? It could potentially be a good thing if it can augment your body and give you special abilities that you don't have currently and improve your health. That in itself could be positive, but to the degree which this program is essentially being introduced as a way for the state to intrude further into your life, then it's a bad thing.
Okay, I just want to introduce. Thank you very much. Just want to introduce a quick video. These are just snapshots. I'm not going to be running the entire videos.
We're going to start the When Humans Become Cyborg session. I always want to be a cyborg. I'm waiting for the day to become one, but let's see. Today, we like to really talk about the recent developments of brain-computer interface.
So I found that very amusing. This lady here, she's dying to be a cyborg. I thought I'd include that just for a little bit of humor, really.
Yes, it is funny.
I also want to include, and this is from a gentleman who is a professor, and it's not so important who he is, it's more important what he says. And again, this is just a very short snippet.
I think you're in pretty safe ground when you use this technology for the purpose of, curing disease, treating disease, or at least addressing impairment. I do think you start crossing the line when you think about enhancement augmentation. We'll come back to that. So
this is really what we were talking about earlier, about drawing a line between assisting impairments and using the technology to help people with their medical issues, and just augmenting for, I guess, for leisure, for fun.
Well, it's what I said earlier on about there's a temporary intrusion of technology into your body for a particular purpose, like medical, for example. And then there's permanent augmentation, which is a very, very different thing. That really is what it means to be a transhuman.
For medical reasons, it's not necessarily temporary though, because you for instance, hearing aids. You have hearing aids implanted into your head, and they are permanent. They're there for the rest of your life. But the difference, crossing the line, as he calls it, between assisting people and needing it just to improve their lives versus doing it for leisure.
Yes, I guess so. Another way to say that is that one thing corrects a fault in your body. If you need a hearing device to correct your hearing, then that's one thing that corrects a malady in the body. But that's very different from augmentation. Augmentation enhances your capabilities beyond what the body can naturally do.
Absolutely. For me, I think it is a fork in the road. I think we're already there. You've mentioned where we are with the pandemic and COVID, and that in itself is a technology that is being, in this case, injected into the bodies, and there is a fork in the road that we are at, and I think it's a choice really between natural evolution or integrating more and more with technology. And I believe that humanity needs to be careful which roads it chooses to go down. There could be great perils, there could be great benefits, as you say. Not being a Luddite, there's obviously, I believe in the march of technology. I think it's unstoppable. I think it should continue. But where that gentleman mentions about crossing the line, I think we just need to pause for a moment and decide whether, what we're moving towards, or indeed potentially even pushed towards, dare I say, whether that is in our best interests long term.
Yes, that's right. And it may not only be that we may be misguided in trying to control our evolution ourselves. It's also the fact that we may well stop evolution altogether, because one thing that's discussed in transhumanist circles is the concept of immortality.
Mm-hmm.
That is certainly one direction that transhumanism could move toward. And the two options that have been discussed are physical immortality, where through the use of nanotech, they can keep the body alive and in a good state of health forever. Or there's also brain immortality, where they can record your brain activity and upload it to the cloud. And that would essentially be you minus a body, but it's still you and you're still there. And that's another form of immortality. And in both cases, evolution essentially stops, because what does the technology do after all? All it can do is make things a little bit faster and a little bit more convenient. And that's all. There would be no scope for evolution.
Yeah.
And and also, evolution to a degree requires exposure to natural elements. If you're living a life that allows no scope for accidents or surprises or the unexpected to happen, because everything is controlled by technology,
mm-hmm.
You can't come across those happy little opportunities that give you a chance to take a new direction in life or a new view of life.
Completely agree.
It's just the same.
You've got millions of years of natural evolution versus a few years of people tinkering around with environment / genetics.
Yes.
And are we at this stage in history cleverer than nature? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, me neither. And the other thing also is that this subject can't really be discussed in a vacuum, if you like. This concept of transhumanism is being pushed, and something that is being pushed has an agenda behind it. So, it's not something that the public are necessarily demanding,
yes,
or in many cases even aware of. The fact that it's being pushed should give us pause for thought. We need to examine the motives of those who are behind the transhumanist movement, what it is that they're really after. If this is something, if an individual wants to become a transhumanist, that's all very well. That's their own body and their own choice. But if it's something that they want to introduce to society at large, then that's a different matter altogether. They need special considerations.
Yeah, and just as a final point, and I'm not an especially religious person, but moving away from the essence of what makes us human, whether it's our consciousness or perhaps even the spirit or the concept of the soul, towards a part biological, part machine hybrid, there might be implications on that side of things as well. I know it's potentially a woolly topic. What is the soul? What is a spirit? Obviously religion comes into it, but potentially humanity might want to pause for a moment to consider its evolutionary future before choices of transhumanism or embedding technology in your physical being are made.
Yes, that's right. To the degree that our understanding of nature and reality and our place in it is incomplete, we shouldn't be making decisions like this until we have a better understanding of the world and our place in it. Our technology isn't perfect, and our understanding of nature isn't perfect for us to be making permanent alterations in the course of human evolution based on incomplete understanding, which could exclude things like you said, the spirit, the soul, even the notion of a god. Who knows? We don't know all the facts. That would be a very, very dangerous path to go down if we were wrong.
Okay, I think that's a perfect place to stop. Thank you very much. I'd just like to apologize to everybody for perhaps not putting out content as regularly as we'd like. Unfortunately, life gets in the way. But thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.